Bloke is a joker. We don't talk like that, do we, dear? Garlic. Taken me all that time to think of it. Garlic. Did you taste the garlic?
No. back tonight and you have your team meeting, your debrief. What are you talking about? What's your plan for tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow is another day, and a different day, a different set of conditions, and there's always an opportunity. In sailing, there's just always opportunities.
It's not over for them, is it?
Oh, no, not at all. Condition dependent. And tomorrow, good news for Ineos, it's quite windy. And next Wednesday, it's really windy. So it comes back into their sweet spot. Today was always going to be difficult for them, as it proved.
Pete, you said at the start of the day, typically one team runs away with the Prada Cup. Are you getting that feeling already on day one?
A bit early, but I don't necessarily think it will be close. It never is. It's just the way the game. If a team gets momentum and then the other team gets on the back foot and conservative, you've got to be front foot forward and really comfortable with your boat, with your crew. And Luna Rossa looked really comfortable today.
Ineos has got to get a couple of wins though, don't they?
Oh, you'd hope
You'd
so.
think, would it?
Yeah, you'd hope so.
I mean, the wind's going to come up. It's going to suit them better. Surely they're going to go better in the next couple of days.
Definitely tomorrow should be a better day. Even in that last race though, it was up to 16, 17 knots as an average, and they still weren't that competitive.
Yeah, you're getting up there, aren't you? You're mid-range, pushing into that higher range. So do you think it's an issue with the boat? Are we thinking that they haven't done their homework over the last 3 weeks?
I think it's a speed issue. From today, the issue was speed. In the light, it was getting up on the foils, but even when they were on the foils, they were slow.
And just a final comment on Luna Rossa, because they aren't putting the foot wrong at this stage.
Yeah, well, I think they've, the practice of the racing that they've had, I think, again, that's coming to roost for them. They're used to manoeuvring, they've done, more starts and more mark groundings, and they're just slicker at the moment.
Okay, well, let's have a look at today's results. We know that it was a 2-0. It wasn't the best start for Ineos Team UK. Luna Rossa winning both race 1 and race 2. Remember, it is the first to 7. So Luna Rossa just needs 5 more wins now, Scotty. Thank you. Got to keep... and they will be there. What do we got tomorrow?
Okay, tomorrow, here we go. Look at this beautiful day coming up tomorrow, Sunday the 14th of February, Valentine's Day, of course. So, you can all come down here to the viaduct and enjoy the entertainment down here.
Spend it with us.
Spend it with us. 4:15, we've got race 3, Ineos Team UK and Luna Rossa. And then, of course, an hour later will be race 4. Be exciting. The wind will be up.
It will be. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage. We have a highlight show after the late news tonight, but right now it is time for the 6 o'clock news with all of the highlights, including Luna Rossa on their way to winning the cup.
Hey, Popo.
Today's America's Cup Racing is brought to you from Auckland, New Zealand.
TVNZ's coverage was proudly brought to you by Toyota.
Tonight on One News, Air New Zealand and the war in Syria. Fresh details about the airline's global work for foreign militaries and just how many contracts the company is still working on. Another toxic water supply issue, rotting animal carcasses force a community of hundreds to boil water. Why it could be weeks until the problem's solved. Plus, lockdown anger spikes in Melbourne. Amid the confusion at airports. Kia ora, good evening. Air New Zealand's confirmed it's currently working for the Turkish military, which is accused of war crimes in Syria. One News first reported the airline's work for Saudi Arabia at the start of the week, and now we know more about the extent of its military work around the world. Political reporter Benedict Collins has the latest.
The Syrian war is another brutal conflict a long way from New Zealand. The United Nations says summary executions, rapes and torture are carried out by all sides. Now our national carrier has confirmed its gas turbines team is also working for the Turkish Navy, a military heavily involved in the Syrian war.
We know that they've been committing some horrific war crimes in northern Syria.
You contribute to their capability, then you are assisting in the work that they are doing. And so when we're talking about Turkey, we are talking about their contribution to the ongoing conflict in Syria without any oversight by the New Zealand government.
A One News investigation revealed Air New Zealand was fixing engines for the Saudi Navy that is blockading Yemen. While the work was promptly abandoned this week, the airline has revealed it is currently working on other military contracts with Australia, the US, Canada, Taiwan and Turkey.
Because Turkey's become a lot more assertive in its foreign policy in the last few years, and in a way that's not always been, it doesn't always sit comfortably with the sort of positions we hold.
And what about Taiwan? Do you think this has a potential to get diplomatically awkward for New Zealand?
Yes, although I think China probably knows about it, but it may not appreciate it being made public.
In fact, the airline has been doing work for the likes of the Turkish and Taiwanese navies for the last decade. Yet Air New Zealand's boss had little idea about which militaries his own company was helping until the One News investigation.
I'm disappointed, and I think the people of New Zealand will be disappointed to know that our national carrier hadn't turned its mind to whether or not it was aiding in the literal massacre of people via its contracts.
They have been involved essentially in international conflicts, and we need to have some answers. We need a parliamentary inquiry. We need some real transparency about what Air New Zealand is up to.
The calls keep growing for an independent investigation.
All right, Benedict is with us now. Tina Queer Benedict, what's the latest on the investigation into how this happened?
Yeah, good evening. Well, there are multiple investigations underway now. Of course, Air New Zealand is holding an internal investigation as it tries to figure out how it got caught up with these militaries that are, fueling war crimes and humanitarian crises around the world. It's also brought in external auditors, PwC, to also have a look and give this investigation, I guess, more of an air of credibility. Now, of course, you also have government officials at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. They are looking in to see whether this was illegal, because Air New Zealand never sought export permits. Now, we should know this week whether Air New Zealand is going to get prosecuted for this. While Air New Zealand are expecting their internal and external reviews to be back with their board by the end of the month, and they have said they will update the public about those then.
Okay, and what's the government had to say about these new revelations?
Well, not an awful lot, to tell you the truth. I did get a statement a short time ago from the minister. He said, look, from the finance minister, Grant Robertson, who has responsibility for Air New Zealand, that is, he said he's going to wait for the result of whether or not they get prosecuted and Air New Zealand's internal review before he makes any decision about whether an independent investigation is needed. But I did speak earlier today to Air New Zealand's chairwoman, Dame Therese Welsh. She was telling me, look, she wasn't prepared to be interviewed today. They said they need to really let these reviews be held so they can figure out what exactly has gone on. But she did tell me today that the board would be asking questions about why Air New Zealand, once the executive team found out about this, why they began trying to delete information from the internet about gas turbines work around the world.
Kia ora, Benedict, thanks for the update. Rotting animal carcasses have been found in the water supply to two small towns on Banks Peninsula. The council knew about the issue days ago, but residents were only alerted last night. They've been told to boil all water until further notice, and as Donna Marie Lever reports, it could be several weeks until the problem's fixed.
Another town's supply is tainted, forcing locals to either boil or fuel up from a 60,000 litre emergency supply. Civil Defence Defence has moved into Akaroa after text alerts last night revealed the problem.
Last night about 5 we had one of those warnings come through on our phones.
I go and clean the intakes sometimes because they don't even bother. Leaves on them.
But this time it was the bodies of 2 dead possums and birds detected on Tuesday. The public only alerted last night, so why the delay? The Canterbury District Health Board has told One News it was only alerted to the problem at 4:24 last night, with the council now admitting it dropped the ball. There was a breakdown in process and the delay is its fault. Testing confirmed there was enough chlorine to kill bacteria, but it won't stop the protozoa risk.
Is it Giardia? Don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Don't know, I haven't heard of that.
Do you feel there's enough information around about what it could do to you?
I just need to sit down for a minute and read some.
Protozoa is a group of parasites including Cryptosporidium and Giardia, which can cause fever, nausea and gastro problems. Alerts have been issued to cell phones and there's signage on the side of the road to warn people about the problem, while council staff try and work out exactly how to fix it, something they say could take several weeks.
Deep clean, empty it out, get in there, take everything out, chlorinate it all again, and do the necessary repairs to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Weekends here are busy with local tourism vital for many businesses.
We're having to buy bagged ice. We can't use our ice machines, boiling the jugs, running up and down the stairs trying to get the jugs boiled. It's all just extra work that we weren't really planning on. So it was a bit of a shock in the middle of dinner service last night to find out that, hey, this is going to be us for the next couple of weeks.
Fresh drinking water will be available on tap until then, or however long the problem takes to fix. Donna Marie Lever, One News.
Tensions are mounting in Victoria just hours into the state's latest lockdown. The state's premier called it a circuit breaker to stop the spread of a highly contagious new outbreak. He's now trending on Twitter with the nickname Dictator Dan. Nicole Bremner has today's developments.
Back to the Future Part 3's hit Victoria, a reluctant return to panic buying toilet paper, empty streets and this time resentful critics with the state premier in their sights. But not everyone surprised by Daniel Andrews' call yesterday for the emergency 5-day lockdown. A desperate bid to halt a rapid flare-up of COVID cases at Melbourne Airport's Holiday Inn, a managed isolation facility.
The theory is this: we want to in fact stop the movement and quarantine down people who are contact of contacts, so that's thousands of people. And the only way to do that is to in fact move to this sort of style of lockdown.
For 5 days, we can suck that up and get on with it. The fear is that it extends.
Concern too among Kiwis travelling to Melbourne today.
I came up from Hamilton and I kind of half expected to get turned around.
We are very worried because we empty our house here and we have to go to house there. And the people who are supposed to pick us up now from the airport, they are not allowed to pick us up.
We got a notification last night saying the flight today is going to be delayed for 5 hours. It's like, okay, a bit nerve-wracking.
But Air New Zealand's flight got the green light, one of only a handful to do so before all flights into Victoria are suspended.
There'll be 5 more flights arrive between now and the end midnight, and we think there's about 100 passengers on those.
Emotions running high in the Garden State. The curfew forcing tennis fans to leave the Australian Open, while world number 1 Novak Djokovic was locked in his own battle for survival.
I still enjoy the tennis, but it's just not the same.
At least I got my refunds back, but it's disappointing.
I think it's necessary at this stage.
Sentiments echoed by a frustrated city mayor.
It makes me incredibly angry when people won't take the test, because this is our community, it's our local economy, it's the height of entitlement, to be honest, not to take the test.
I know that a lot of people will be hurting today, but I can't have a situation where in 2 weeks' time we look back and we wish we had taken these decisions now.
A decision supported by this Kiwi and his family.
If we can nail it in the 5-day lockdown, we'll be happy. We'll be a happy state.
A state with 5 quiet days ahead to contemplate the options. Nicole Bremner, One News.
A $40 million government payout has stopped a Supreme Court legal battle due to start on Monday. Kiwi fruit growers have been fighting for years to hold the government accountable for a devastating outbreak of the PSA disease. Sam Calway reports.
It's 11 years since PSA ripped through Jeff Roderick's orchard, devastating his crops and livelihood.
Yeah, we basically lost half our income from the orchard within the next 12 months.
And while his orchard has recovered, this year he'll still have to cut out vines infected with the bacteria. Others fighting for years to hold the government to account.
Whilst not all the losses are covered, a moral victory is more as important to us as anything else.
In 2009, MAF, now MPI, allowed pollen with a strain of PSA to be imported into New Zealand. In 2018, the High Court ruled the government was negligent in its handling of PSA and breached its duty of care by letting the disease in. The Crown appealed, as did the Kiwifruit Claim Group. In 2020, the Court of Appeal ruled that while the government was responsible for the outbreak, it didn't owe a duty of care to ordinary New Zealanders, and therefore couldn't be liable. On Monday, that was to be challenged at the country's highest court, but this morning, a settlement.
There will be a lot of growers that will be upset with the result. There are a lot of growers that will be very mindful of that. We have achieved a lot of things, and obviously having some settlement was a good result.
More than 200 growers were involved in the Kiwifruit claim. The fallout from PSA resulted in hundreds of millions of dollars in losses, but the class action settled for much less than that. Those growers will get a 62% slice of $40 million, falling well short of what they lost.
Look, mistakes were made, of that there's no question. I feel very sorry for the many growers who were affected by the PSA introduction into New Zealand. Today we've got a chance to draw a line under that and move forward together.
It's reinforced to people in Wellington and probably all around the country the exposure and risk we can have without good border control.
A decade on, and the industry is worth more than $3 billion. All the more reason to protect our largest fruit export. Sam Callaway, One News.
A dire housing crisis is seeing cars full of people camping by beaches and in parks on Auckland's Waiheke Island. Others have fled the Hauraki Gulf Island for life back on the mainland. Corazon Miller reports.
Dawn breaking on Onitangi Beach, unveiling the darker side of this island paradise. Vehicles full of sleeping people who have nowhere else to go. Rising house prices are driving demand well beyond supply here.
You know, my family's been here since 1957. It's home, and to have to leave it because of financial reasons. The prices are driving the locals off the island. It's turning into a millionaire's paradise.
This solo mum and her 15-year-old, who didn't want to be identified, currently have a home, but are constantly moving.
It's demeaning, it's soul-destroying when you just get settled somewhere to be told you had to leave. Oh, God. When he was 5 or 6 and he was like, Mum, is Santa going to be able to find us because we have to move again? But now he just rolls with it. He's won an actual home for my boys.
Secure and stable and appropriate housing is at the heart of well-being for a family, and not just for families, for anyone.
This life on the road is increasingly common.
Of those that are here sleeping in vans, some are doing that by choice. But there are others who simply cannot afford accommodation or find accommodation, and that includes our own homeless.
The beachside prospect less attractive in weather like this.
The future's pretty bleak. You know, it's like, oh, you're on the dole, you're living this lifestyle, and it's one lifestyle.
Just like the rest of the country, rents here continue to rise. Tenancy services
You're
data
lucky
shows
to have
a
a
3-bedroom
home.
house costs up to
So am I.
$680 a week. In reality, rental listings show the figure is much higher, in excess of $750 a week. That's if there's anything available in the first place.
We also have the return of people from overseas, so that means they're buying houses and or they're renting houses, so that's added an extra pressure.
The crisis pushing even those with financial security back to the mainland.
At 51, I'm effectively homeless, and it's not a great feeling. I feel like a gypsy wandering around living out of suitcases and boxes.
His great regret, selling a house on Waiheke for just under $400,000 a decade ago.
That would easily be going for $900,000 plus, maybe even getting close to $1 million
now in Waiheke, so I just can't get back into the property market.
His property dream restricted to finding an affordable place to rent. Corazon Miller, One News.
FI Akine coming up. Donald Trump's impeachment trial could be over in the next 24 hours after his legal team delivers a short and sharp defence.
To claim that the president in any way wished, desired, or encouraged lawless or violent behavior is a preposterous and monstrous lie.
Next, how they tried to use the Democrats' own words against them. Archaeologists prove Stonehenge was a second-hand monument. The clues that link these stones to a site hundreds of kilometres away.
Tonight, we're going shark cage diving, Dad. I ain't going in no shark cage.
You haven't had a rise in rent since you went there, have you?
Yes, I think I've had 2.
Have you?
One was just recently.
Maybe that's why you're finding you've got less money. Do you know how much you're paying now?
I can't remember. So, what is this?
What did I say was on tonight?
I can't remember.
It was on Prime. Oh, it was about America in the Vietnam War and then Watergate.
welcome back. American lawmakers could fight as early as tomorrow at Donald Trump's impeachment trial. The former president's defence team made its case today, saying charging him with inciting rioters last month is an act of political vengeance. The ABC's Rachel Scott has more.
On day 4, former President Donald Trump's defense team getting their turn, accusing Democrats of using impeachment as an act of political vengeance, calling the charge of insurrection a monstrous lie.
This unprecedented effort is not about Democrats opposing political violence. It is about Democrats trying to disqualify their political opposition.
Warning the senators serving as jurors that convicting a former elected official for their past political speech could set a dangerous precedent, zeroing in on the former president's use of the word fight.
We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Insisting fight is, quote, ordinary political rhetoric, playing an 11-minute montage of Democrats' own words, including senators in the chamber today.
Our fight, we are in this fight for our lives.
What we have to do right now is fight as hard as we can.
Suddenly, the word fight is off limits. Spare us the hypocrisy and false indignation.
Democrats objected to the video, saying this is hardly the same thing, and that their words were never delivered to a mob ready to act. The defense arguing that the House managers selectively edited their evidence, admitting the one time the president used the word peacefully.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
But House managers did address that word in making their case, saying he only used it once, and urged his supporters to fight more than a dozen times in that one speech. Still, his defense argued today, this is not incitement.
No thinking person could seriously believe that the president's January 6th speech was in any way an incitement to violence or insurrection.
Archaeologists believe rocks from England's Stonehenge, there it is, were part of an earlier prehistoric monument more than 200 kilometres away. They've discovered a site in Wales where the stones were first assembled by farmers hundreds of years before being relocated. Here's the BBC's Duncan Kennedy.
Stonehenge, standing here since 2500 BC. But around 500 years earlier, it looked very different. Originally, it was a circle of blue stones, but the question's always been, where did they come from?
And they're really like a pack of cards that have slipped.
Professor Mike Parker Pearson, who found the Blue Stones quarry in West Wales, believed Stonehenge may have been built before it was moved to Wiltshire. The question was, where?
The mood was sombre.
For 3 years, his team searched.
It is our extreme archaeology. The weather.
In rain and gales.
The wind never stops.
Until finally, they tried a place called Wine Mound.
The lost circle had been found.
There were 3 key pieces of evidence. First, the dimension of the Welsh circle is exactly the same as Stonehenge.
The second piece of evidence concerns this particular blue stone at Stonehenge. The team say the shape of the base of this rock exactly fits a hole they found at the dig site in Wales. In the words of one expert, it was like a key in a lock.
And third, the team say ancient soil samples helped confirm Stonehenge was pre-built.
Stonehenge was a second-hand monument, that it began in a very different part of Britain and was lifted and moved wholesale to become really the iconic and quintessential prehistoric circle.
The idea of a pre-built Stonehenge has stunned fellow academics. From Wales to Wiltshire, it seems the pre-building of prehistory is now changing our preconceptions.
Mayor Utonu Mai, stay with us. Our wetlands are far more powerful than forests at absorbing carbon. Who's calling for farmland to be flooded to help cool our climate? And today's first Prada Cup race was almost over before it began for one team. A favourable change in wind conditions failed to turn their fortunes around.
And it's a goodie for a Saturday evening barbecue in the capital. Right now you're sitting around 20 degrees.
Beaver Ridge of High Pressure calling the shots for Sunday. What that means for the weather at your place after sport.
Meet these Mizzy Bees.
I'm the secretary, treasurer, chairman,
And their queen.
Girls can do anything. They're eager to learn, they're as passionate as me.
we are really passionate about the bees, but also sometimes we do it just to get out of class. Just sometimes.
Shinday Country Calendar is back. Sunday on 1.
$7.30, the year that changed America. When marked shifts in culture, icons and politics. Examine the turning point in the Vietnam War and the start of a presidential race that changed history. What was that?
What was what?
What was the presidential race that changed history?
I don't know.
I think it must have been. No, I don't know.
Kia ora, Arnold. An occupation protesting a massive development planned at Wellington's Shelley Bay is still growing 3 months after it began. A group of members unhappy with their iwi sale of the land to developers are trying to stop the construction from getting underway. Kate Nicol-Williams reports.
Working land, they say, is rightfully theirs.
As for our future generations,
Iwi have been living at Shelley Bay since November, aiming to stop a $500 million development being built. The whenua was sold by Taranaki Whānui, but a collective within the iwi says it didn't consider consent to the sale.
What's life been like here?
Wellington's best campsite. It's been pretty cool. But now that we're getting into more serious, it's ramping up a little bit.
A High Court case challenging the legality of the land sale was set down for next month. That's now been put on hold because iwi members no longer have the financial backing to pay for legal costs. The developer says the issue's one for the iwi to sort themselves.
We respect their right to protest, but would point out that most of what they have publicly campaigned for has or will be achieved. It is unfortunate that some individuals continue to fuel this dispute in pursuit of their own personal positions.
This week, contractors arrived, iwi calling the police. But the occupation's growing, supporters from as far afield as Hokianga and Christchurch now living here. An on-site festival recently highlighting the cause.
We're sending out massive love to the Hokianga of Shelly Bay. We support you, 100%.
Mo Whirua wants the government to launch a public inquiry into the land sale. Today, Māori Crown Relations Minister Calvin Davis wouldn't comment, calling the matter an internal iwi dispute. Kate Nicole-Williams, One News.
Environmentalists are warning we need to protect our wetlands if we want to meet our climate goals. Peat wetlands are more powerful than tropical rainforests at absorbing carbon when they're wet, but most of ours have been drained for farming. Kristen Hall explains.
This is what a healthy peat wetland looks like, lush and full of life. But this is the reality for most of ours, drained and dry.
You can see these drains in places along here. All the wetland is drained and taken straight out to sea.
A peat wetland is a wetland where the water is at the surface or just above the surface virtually all the time, and it means that the wetland plants can't rot.
When they're wet, these landscapes absorb huge amounts of carbon. The Kopuatai peat dome on the Hauraki Plains stores 2.5 tonnes of carbon per hectare every year, 10 times more than a pine plantation. But when they're dry...
And once you've drained this, the peat's actually breaking down. It swaps around. It's actually emitting carbon dioxide.
In New Zealand, we only have about 10% of our historic wetlands left. This is a healthy peat wetland, but across the country, more than 200,000 hectares of it have been drained and degraded. Most of our former peatland is used for intensive agriculture. In the Waikato, 83,000 hectares have been converted to farmland.
If we hope to meet our goals with regards to climate change as a country, we need a national plan to restore our wetlands, especially the peat and coastal wetlands.
Restoration is happening at Wellington's Queen Elizabeth Park. 80 hectares of these peat-filled paddocks are going to be rehydrated over the next 4 years after pressure from environmental groups.
Once it's a wetland, this will be fantastic for the public. More public will come to this park, but the benefit is for climate change.
The Climate Commission's recently released report found drained wetlands are a significant source of land emissions, but currently you can't get carbon credits for restoring them.
So what we're doing is we're robbing our children. We're robbing the future generations.
A dwindling resource that might be key to cooling our climate. Kristen Hall, One News.
It's time for sport, and Andrew's managed to skive off down to the waterfront. Kia ora, e hoa.
Kia ora, Melissa. Yes, and as you can probably tell, the much talked about wind has only just kicked in down here at the Wynyard Quarter. Probably about 3 or 4 hours too late for Team UK. Ineos will have the latest from day one. Prada Cup final for you in just a moment. Also tonight, an eye-catching day's sport around the rest of the country. Amazing scenes and ups and downs in the cricket finals. Plus, we go live to the coast-to-coast finish line after a gut-busting day across the South Island, and the big boats rumble at Piha Beach.
TVNZ1 brings you the Prada Cup final, featuring Ineos Team UK, the Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. The Prada Cup final. Coverage continues tomorrow from 3 p.m, live and free, only on One. Did you...
Hello, dear. How are you? Did you go to that movie, Dr. Zhivago? Yes, I hated it too, because it makes light of adultery. In the war. I've forgotten about that. It's so many years ago since I saw it, but I remember thinking that it was adultery. I mean, well, the hero was actually married, and the love affair that he had was with another woman. I mean, I don't think you saw much of the real wife, did you? It's all about the next wife. Well, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. And it's quite historical. Yeah. Yes. And just to think, our Air New Zealand has been working to help Saudi Arabia and now Turkey. They've been doing dreadful killings. Or our Air New Zealand. We have been working for the Saudi Navy and Turkey, and there's another. No, because Turkey's the one that's been making it more difficult in Syria. And Saudi Arabia has been fighting against Yemen, and there's a dreadful humanitarian crisis in Yemen because of the civil war. Anyway, it's good that they found out and now they stop it. Did you watch the race between the United Kingdom's boat and the Italians? It was on this afternoon. Yeah. It's interesting that Kate Middleton, that's Prince William's wife, she's a very keen sailor, and she, I was looking in a magazine about her this afternoon, and she was wishing them well. You know, the Sir Ben Ainsley is the skipper of the UK boat. Yes, I've got Campbell here. Well, Kate Middleton, before they left, she was wishing them well. Doesn't matter. Campbell's here. I walked down to the beach with him this afternoon because I was keen for him to have a swim and he didn't have anybody to go with. And we got down there and there's a big notice saying our beach is polluted. So, but there were quite a lot of people in. Yeah. And Campbell's got a sore on his leg and he reckoned he shouldn't go in because he if it's polluted, it might upset his leg, the sore in his leg. Anyway, I don't think he was all that keen. But my friends Peter and Di, they were going. Campbell could have gone with them, but of course we saw them on the way home. Campbell and I did quite a bit of work in the garden because we were cutting back some of the leaves on the grapevine, because the grapes are starting to ripen. Yes. Last year, when we had lockdown at the end of March, they were ripe then. So this is earlier. So we're only halfway through February. So when they really get ripe, when there's plenty, I'll come down and bring you some. They might be still going strong when I have my birthday. And I'm hoping that Nora and Paul will bring you folk up here for tea for my birthday. Okay. Sunday tomorrow, church. Okay. Good old Wellington winning the cricket. This is about the coast to coast.
The hot favourites in the one-day event coming home as we speak. Jordan's with us live soon from the finish line, but first, here's her day on the longest day.
For 39 years, people have been lining up for the
Look at
longest
this,
day
Ken.
at Kumada Beach.
Starting up before it's even light. And they go right from the east coast to the west coast of New Zealand.
Possibly it feels a bit more daunting now because I sort of know more about what I'm getting into.
Dougal Allen starting the race how he intended to finish, out front. But as daylight broke through, so too did second seed Sam Manson, the first to get to Deception River.
Look at
With
them.
a 2.5-minute lead, women's second seed Ellie Wilson hot on their heels. Simone Mayer clinging on to seasoned coast-to-coaster Alina Usher. The pair going in to Goat Pass 30 seconds behind Wilson, powering through to then take a 30-second lead. Manson not keen on making friends, arriving for the kayak leg at Mount White with a 6-minute lead.
They're kayaking and biking and swimming. No, that's swimming.
Comes with 8 years experience. But how's this for the battle of 40-somethings? Mayer arriving just seconds before Usher. But when it comes to transitions, you've got to be quick. Usher hot out of the blocks, heading for the Waimakariri Gorge Bridge. A real two-horse race in both divisions. It'd be Dougal Allen to pull off a comeback win. His name engraved in coast-to-coast glory for the second time.
Right, so the longest day, not just for the athletes there, as you saw, Jordan and her camera crew on deck long before sunrise today, and are now live at the finish line. Jordan.
Yes, Evel, incredible scenes today. I'm actually lucky to be joined by Simone Mayer, who just came home just a few moments ago as the first female home in the longest day. Now, I wrote down your time, 12 hours, 34 seconds, and
12 hours of
How are you feeling?
violent exercise. Imagine it.
Pretty unreal, yeah. I mean, you've done this 5 times before. This is the second time you've won it. Does it feel even sweeter this time?
Yeah, I still quite believe what happened
still plenty of tired athletes to come across that finish line all through the evening, I'm sure. Well, the surreal Australian Tennis Open has become even more bizarre. Novak Djokovic is injured and angry fans were forced to leave the stadium because of COVID restrictions. Djokovic only just lasting against American Taylor Fritz with a painful right side injury, witnessing a first in his career. Play was stopped at 11:30 local time. Disgruntled fans ushered out with the new Victorian lockdown coming into effect at 11:59. Djokovic somehow went on to win in 5 sets.
Well, I know it's a tear, definitely, of the muscle, so I don't know if I'll manage to recover from that in less than 2 days. I don't know.
Aussie hope Nick Kyrgios has been bundled out in 5 sets. How's this? Serving an underarm ace to go 2 sets to love up against high-flying Austrian Dominic Thiem. Kyrgios, though, fell away 2 grueling hours later, losing in 5 sets. Thiem on track for what would be a semi-final showdown, eventually with Rafa Nadal. Well, America's Cup racing wasn't the only action on the day. An hour's drive or so west of here, the iconic Piha Beach hosted the Day of Giants Surf Carnival with a welcome return for one major event. Our own surf giant, Max Manukia, was there.
The Day of the Giants Surf Carnival back at West Auckland's Piha Beach. 13 crews from around the country taking on the iconic surf.
Whoa! Oh, look! The boat went right over, upside down.
Try telling that to the crews who were slammed. There were no international competitors this time due to COVID, but Carnival legend and former Kiwis Rugby League hardman Mark Horse Bourneville was still on hand to defend the Open men's title. Regarded as Piha's King of the Sea, he's seen the event go from strength to strength. The event's growing?
Yeah, mate, we put this, we've been doing it back in Piha for about 15 years now. First boats at Piha Beach were actually in the late 30s, and Piha had a very proud reputation.
Piha crews often dominate on home turf, or should that be surf. But a crew of Piha first-timers from the Kapiti coast were able to pull off a real surprise in the women's under-23 category.
We got here last night, some of the locals were like, oh, it's pretty small.
Haikokariki Falcons. Haikokariki Surf Club.
So good that the event has added an Ironman and Ironwoman invitational back at Piha for the first time in more than 20 years.
We were approached by the Ironmen from Piha wanting to put the event and the piggyback on us.
Piha's girls won that too, a fitting way for the event to return to one of Auckland's most famous beaches. Matt Manukia, One News.
Well, back in town here, I'm sure a busy evening for a lot of people at the Wynyard Quarter. Now, just updating that result from Prada Cup final today. Team Ineos UK down 2-0 against Prada. Wind expected to be heavy in Melissa tomorrow, which should suit the Brits. Just before I dash, if you pop one down when you're off here after 7, I'll give you a lift home in my new ride.
10 or 5, very good, Seth. Very good. We'll see him tomorrow. Coming up, another fine one for your Valentine's Day. And it's a once-in-a-lifetime thrill for many of us. But how about 100 times in a single day? Not for me. We've got an update on an attempt to jump into the record book.
This time next week, the first New Zealanders to be vaccinated for COVID-19 should have received the jab. Tomorrow, we'll consider the rollout plan and concerns New Zealand could become divided between the jabs and the jab-nots. Join us for Q&A, 9 a.m, TVNZ1.
Hey, tonight on One, celebrities take on the machine in Tipping Point Lucky Stars. Then the boys are in Florida on Bradley Walsh and Son Breaking Dad. Over on 2, Mr. Burns goes undercover on All New The Simpsons. Then young Sheldon's up in arms as his high school graduation approaches. Later on, Duke, Michael Douglas and Glenn Close star in Fatal Attraction. Plus, peel back the headlines with the true crime docu-series, The Life and Trials of Oscar Pistorius, on demand.
Choosing the right life insurance is easy through lifedirect.co.nz.
Sorry. You can compare quotes and buy from New Zealand's leading life insurers. No drama.
Improvement sale is on, with up to 40% off carpets, hard flooring, curtains and blinds, plus a whopping 4 years interest-free. Buy now and you could win 10,000 bonus flybys. Call Harrison's 0800 103 001.
Dinner, a constant struggle, buying food you don't need, stuck in a rut of the same recipes. With HelloFresh, dinner is simple. Easy recipes and delicious meals that everyone enjoys. Order today at hellofresh.co.nz. Simply delicious.
If I won $14 million, I'd cook up a storm for the entire neighbourhood.
Sounds like hard work.
Not with my sous chefs, Jamie, Nigella and Gordon.
Imagine winning $14 million this Saturday. Get your Powerball ticket in-store or online.
This is Old El Paso Launch Control, coming final true. Tortilla pockets are ready to take off. Ignite appetite, deactivate devices, engage boosters. Delicious cargo is safely on board and we are go! That's another perfect landing thanks to the incredible new tortilla pockets from Old El Paso, launching to best free Mexican.
Super cheap autos back to the garage catalog sale is on now. Get 5 litres of Castrol Edge 5W30 for $48.99, half price, and 30% off Toolpro Neon Tool Cabinets. Catalog out now.
Find savings down every aisle at New World. Get great prices that last with everyday value. Find big discounts with super savers and instantly save with club deals when you scan your club card. Find great ways to save all summer long only at New World.
Wireless business broadband that'll make you smile. Now you can get a massive 600 gigabytes of data for only $56.52 per month. Sign up before the 31st of March 2021. Go you! Search Vodafone Wireless Broadband for your business today.
I can make something for the party.
All good, babe.
Show up with our tasty new summer flavors, like our sticky chicken and barbecue Hawaiian, plus 2 sides and Ben & Jerry's delivered. Pizza Hut, easy, tasty, job done.
Who's keen to explore the country? With over 100,000 NZ fares for under $100 ready to book every day. Discover our beautiful backyard or connect with friends somewhere new. So who's keen to take flight for less? Book now at Air New Zealand.
This is Tipping Point Lucky Stars.
In a game of high stakes, there's quick buzzers,
Fails.
lucky guesses, and then there's those who go black.
Oh no. Oh no.
New Tipping Point Lucky Stars coming up next on One.
That's the sound of cows enjoying Viscount, the delicious tetraploid perennial that will turn your cows into pigs. Barrenbrook, superior pastures.
Kia ora, hello again. The high is with us and brings generally clear skies and no rain today. A warm 27 for Auckland and Hamilton, but our top temperatures 28 felt in Thames and Paeroa. Then the warmest here at 26, Invercargill hit 22. So from the SatCam, still lots of clear sky over the country due
last
to
2
high
nights
pressure. There's a wet weather system to our north marked by high cloud and another system sitting over the Tasman Sea. However, the high remains in control across Aotearoa tomorrow. The system up north sinks southwards. This increases the easterly flow and brings some moist, humid air and then eventually rain. The system to our west slides on to the south of us. Occasional light rain over the north from morning, becoming heavy by evening. Easterlies strong at night and 26 for Kaitaia. Mainly fine for the city of Sales, becoming cloudy in the evening and patchy light rain. Easterlies and 26. Sunshine over the rest of Kamaki Makaurau, then cloudy from evening. Light rain at night. Morning and evening cloud over the centre north. Sunshine in between. Taumarunui gets a warm one at 28. Morning into evening cloud Hamilton, but it's a mostly fine day for you. Easterly breezes and 27. Huntley enjoying a sunny, warm Valentine's Day at 27 degrees. Some morning cloud for Cambridge and Pikuiti. Some cloud as you wake Tauranga, then sunshine and cloud returns around dinner time. 24 is your high. Cloud at first around the edges with a fine afternoon to follow. Occasional light rain at for most. Palmerston North gets a top of 24, 23 for everyone else. Partly cloudy over the capital.
20 for us tomorrow.
And a top of 20 degrees.
Fabulous.
Cloud across Sunday too. Overcast skies for Lower Hutt with a high of 23 degrees. Finally, high cloud south afternoon northerlies and 25 for Glennon. Christchurch, you're in for a fine day. Some high cloud and southerly breezes, but those will die out in the evening. 24 is your high, and it's a fine Sunday for surrounding areas too, with just some high cloud at times. A cloudy start for you, Greymouth and Hokitika, but a much brighter afternoon is promised. Cloudy at times for Timaru and 22. High cloud over Queenstown, southwest breezes and a high of 21 degrees. A mix of cloud and sunshine for surrounding areas. Alexandra aiming for a top of 24. Occasional light rain for Milford Sound, 19 is where you're heading. Partly cloudy and 22 for Gore and also Invercargill. A mix of cloud and sunshine for you too, Dunedin. Light winds but northeasterlies about the coast after lunch. 21 is your high. Mosgiel fine with high cloud, light winds and 21 for you too. Looking to Monday, rain spreading down from the north with heavy falls possible from Northland, Auckland, Coromandel and Waikato. The South Island partly cloudy with showers spreading up from the south with a fresh southwest change. And on Tuesday, the North Island gets rain showers clearing in the west. The South Island morning showers in Canterbury and Marlborough, otherwise becoming fine. And this week we have very high
It'll be colder and wetter.
Before you light any kind of fire, check the local fire danger level at.
It's lovely down the beach as the sun sets. I've been down there the last two nights. I've got to water.
Are you going down the beach?
No, not at the moment. I'm going to water the garden. But you can go down the beach, because you don't have to water the garden. Have you got a hoodie? I think you'll need your hoodie. want to watch that program about America?
Not really.
All right. Because I'm going to, but I'm just going to do work outside until it starts. How about, do you want to go down the beach again?
Not really.
We're just going to sit there all evening. When you come out here to get away from the city and do something different, it seems a shame to just spend all your time doing your game. come and help me for 10 minutes so that I can come in and watch the program?